Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Whatever it is at this point for you all.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Absolutely. Welcome, welcome.
Okay, well, you are in the right spot if you are looking for the ongoing IT success through management session. Thanks for carving out some time in your busy day to talk about some different strategies for IT. If you already have added this session to your schedule in Schedge, which I think is pronounced Schedge. We had a little debate. I'm not sure. Thanks for doing so. If you haven't, maybe if something else was canceled or you're joining kind of last minute, we appreciate you being here. And we would also appreciate it if you would check the little box in Schedge. That just gives us a heads up that you attended and can give us a sense for who ended up in which session. So if you look at your schedule and Schedge and hit the box, that helps us out. So thank you. My name is Zach Ops. I'll be one of your hosts today. I have a good fortune to work mainly with schools in the west half of the country who are in years 3 and 4 of the VILS program. So some of you, I see some friendly faces and names. Appreciate you being here and everyone else, and going to send it to my colleague, Elliot.
Sure, thank you, Zach. My name is Elliot Barnes. I'm Associate Director of Implementation, and I am actually on the East Coast out of Orlando, Florida. And thank you, Todd. I usually handle the implementation of technology in the schools in the first 2 years of the program. So I just want to welcome you and thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. And thanks for the reminder too. So I'm coming to you from Wyoming, just taking a peek out my window, seeing some snow. I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, but happy that it's finally snowy here. You've certainly seen a bunch of norms in your day and your time in the VILS program, but just want to mention a few things as we present today. Please, we really want to hear from you. Don't be shy about using the chat. We probably won't have a lot of opportunities where we will be speaking, whole group and in breakouts, but we'd love to hear your thoughts throughout in chat. So don't hesitate to share those things. Also I really appreciated the opening session today, kind of thinking about intent. I don't know if you were able to make it, but just thinking about approaching each of these sessions as an opportunity to learn and come in with maybe some questions in mind, and also just be open-minded to some new approaches, some things that may help you with your the work that you do every day to support students. We know that there are a lot of things going on in your life. Please, as you are being present here as much as possible, also be kind to yourself. And we realize that things come up and you're taking time from your busy day to join us. So thanks for being here. We'd like to get that chat warmed up with a little thought-provoking question here. If you could clone yourself and create another you, what one IT task would you hire your clone to perform? Go ahead and drop your answer in the chat if you would. Sanitizing iPads. I love it. Being able to understand any language. Wow. That's a terrific answer. Doing inventory. Nice. And so I don't know, Nicole, if that's because you love inventory so much that you don't want to release that to someone else, you're giving it to your clone, or if you're thinking like, inventory, not my favorite thing, I'll hand that off to the clone. I do like the thought of having your clone, take care of maybe learning languages is something you don't have time for because you have a lot of things going on in your life. So that's a great thought. Having a clone of yourself to have a chance to do the learning that you don't have the time and space to do. Excellent. Any other thoughts on what you would have your clone do, IT task? Go ahead and drop those in the chat. I just want to give you a little preview of our session today. We are first going to talk about, oh, Stephanie, yes, resetting passwords. Ooh, full-time member of your staff resetting passwords. That would be nice. Oh, and loaners, keeping up with things, keeping up on loaners. Absolutely. Yeah, that can be a time-consuming one without a doubt. In our session today, we're going to talk a little bit about roles in a VILS school and district. We're going to talk about managing devices. It's interesting, there are several managing devices tasks that some of you would like to hire your clone to perform. Some resources that we hope will make your life easier, and if you're already using them, you know, how you could use them in some other ways, perhaps. Also going to discuss student tech teams. We're going to talk about reviewing data. Some of you, I know, were in the session earlier today where we took a look at data, dive into data. We're going to talk about some of the sources of that data and some insights you might glean from those data. Also, just meeting cadences. So some discussion about doing the work of VILS and planning the work of VILS through meetings, and then wrap things up with some conversations about sustainability. We know that your school will only be in VILS for so many years, and we want to make sure that you leave in a great place for success going forward. So first off, we'd like to just kind of discuss some roles, and we want to be clear that any talk of roles should really be focused on the needs and the staff that you have in place. So when we talk about these roles, these really should be customized and tailored to your school and your district. And also we feel that sometimes that isn't evident at the very beginning of the program. So when we talk about roles as you enter the program during onboarding, we realize that those needs are going to evolve over time, and your staffing is going to evolve over time. So this would just be a good time for you to think about some of these positions and sort of who tackles what. So when it comes to district leadership, we feel strongly that district leaders, and when I say district leaders, you know, terms we use in VILS sometimes are district lead. We also have a district IT lead, but I'd like to extend this for you to think about, you know, maybe your superintendent or those in the superintendent's office. If you have an instructional learning department, those types of folks, we hope that they directly support the creation and or implementation of strategic system-wide plans regarding the readiness, rollout, implementation, and sustainability. So you don't see that they're the ones doing the day-to-day work necessarily, but we're talking about very high level system-wide plans. And I'd just like to point out, you know, VILS can be a real, you know, laboratory for change in your district. And so when we think of system-wide plans, sure, we're talking about VILS schools, but we hope this extends well beyond the VILS schools, the lessons learned. Then when it comes to IT support roles, you know, we hope that these folks work on a school or a district level. That's something we'll talk about in our session today, to manage and monitor device incidents all the way through resolution. And that these people will design and implement timely and sustainable systems for effective technology use in schools. So when we're talking about device incidents, you know, I know many of you have a lot of experience with this, maybe more than you care for, but you know, things like physical damage to devices, you know, lost or stolen devices, devices that are forgotten, you know, at home or misplaced for a time, any kind of software issues that come up, so operating system, apps, settings, any of those kinds of issues, filters, those kinds of things. Then in terms of principals, we hope that they are crafting, supporting, and leading the vision for program implementation at each individual school site, and that they work closely with all stakeholders to bridge district teams with school support teams. So a couple things I want to point out there is that hopefully those principals are actively creating a vision, right? A vision for what is VILS going to bring to pass in their school. This should be customized, right? This should help the school meet their goals. And then also, I just want to point out that principals, you know, while they're not supporting devices and those kinds of things, one of the things that we see them doing is bridging from the district team to the school team. And lastly, the coach, the ever important coach, partners with teachers to provide embedded pedagogical support to effectively leverage technology in the classroom. So notice that in the coach role, and again, this is tailored to your needs, but the coach role doesn't mention device support. And so our role in this group, largely being IT, probably closest to the IT role, many of us, really the IT folks free up coaches to do the work that really leads to improved instruction. Just really want to emphasize that while it can seem monotonous, and that's why maybe you want to hire your clone, this work that the IT professionals do frees up the coaches really to work with teachers as much as possible. Okay, so let's talk about the device management a little bit. We're going to look at two ends of a spectrum here. And that is when it comes to devices and some of this IT work that we just talked about, that is key to the IT role. There are many approaches that you could use, and I'm sure we have people on both sides of the spectrum and everywhere in between. But one approach when it comes to handling device incidents could be very centralized in the sense that there are one or two or several people in the district who handle device issues. And so though when things arise, those devices all, sort of funnel to those folks. And with that kind of approach, we've heard a lot of districts who take that approach feel that they can have very specialized individuals who have technical know-how handle all of those issues rather than people in schools. And so specialized work leads to, in their mind, a little more efficiency, because they can understand and remediate the issue quickly, because they've seen a ton of those issues. When something comes up, when there's a damaged iPad, they know exactly how to handle that claim, or where there's a problem with the filter, they've seen it before and can handle it quickly. Some districts have told us, the downside that as they see it is that if all of the devices need to go to one or two people and they need to be transported from the schools to maybe a district office, they might not be claims may not be handled as quickly, or issues may not be resolved as quickly as having someone in the school who can handle this situation directly. So then on the flip side, we have many districts who choose to take a more site-based approach, where they have individuals in the school building who can handle issues immediately as they come up, and then maybe only escalate them to the district level when necessary. And those districts often tell us that they can maybe handle some issues in a little different way because they know the needs of the staff and the students. They work with them every day. And then also that because those folks who work in the school, those personnel are very visible, they have some ideas about the learning that happens in that school. They can make repairs more quickly, and maybe the students that are having issues or teachers that are having issues feel more comfort with them and come directly to them when an issue arises. Then on the flip side, we've heard some districts tell us that the downside of having folks in the school handle devices is that they might not have the same level of expertise. Maybe there's a little more turnover in those positions, or they just don't have the same IT background. And so if they don't see those issues very often, it might take them more time to determine an answer and resolve the issue. So just digging a little deeper, that if we're looking specifically at the MDM, so if you take a centralized MDM approach, so managing the mobile device management software with an account, or one or two individuals at the district level, many districts have told us they feel like that allows for very uniform policies at all of their schools. So regardless of the school in your district, they all have very similar policies. They have consistent workflows for app requests, the review and installation process. This also can lead to a pretty clear point of contact for all issues. If something comes up, an issue that needs to be resolved through the MDM, if there's one district MDM manager, everyone knows exactly who to go to for that request. And then we also have heard districts who appreciate this approach. They really like that there's one consistent internal district ticketing system, which leads to documentation of all problems. And of course, then if you look at those analytics, you can see what kind of trends are happening over time and are coming up with happening on devices, consistently. That may be improved with some training or changes to district policy, and so the data that generates can lead to a lot of insights there. The other nice thing is that a lot of districts feel like this allows the school-based IT folks, sort of frees them up, so they don't have to worry about the MDM, and they can handle other issues that arise, such as with devices. And then the alternative, of course, having a site-based MDM where there are accounts distributed, accounts with access to the MDM distributed at each school, but then also retaining some district level accounts, is that instead of a universal set of policies across the district, you could have customized policies for each school. So in that sense, each school, would determine what is best for their students, through the instructional needs that they have in their building, and then create an MDM policy that supports that, including the apps that are necessary at school level, maybe even the grade level, and even down to the class level. Some districts also feel like that direct support leads to quicker response times rather than having all MDM requests flow through the district. And this notion of boots on the ground, so having direct access to devices at the school level for tier 1 and 2 support, working through settings issues through the MDM. And then also, things that are relatively routine, if they can be handled at the school level, can move a little more quickly. And then, just like we mentioned, we could, if the school-based IT is doing the work, that frees up the district IT staff to handle bigger issues. And lastly, some schools have told us the thing that we really love about having MDM access at the school level is that the adults working with the student tech team can be empowered to, as soon as something is realized, if a student tech team is supporting devices and realize, this isn't something we can solve unless we have access to the MDM, that advisor or that person working with the student tech team can handle it immediately. All right, let's shift gears to inventory management. So one of the things that we ask every school to do twice a year, of course, is submit an inventory report. But the management of inventory happens consistently and throughout the school year and even into the summer, of course. And so we appreciate this visual that came from one of our districts about how they envision management of inventory to happen throughout the year, and sort of how it's connected together. So instead of just once or twice a year, they feel that having routine device checks creates a culture of accountability, and that can work for students face-to-face or even in virtual settings. And then analyzing not only the device itself, the physical device, but taking a look at loaner logs. And so I know schools all handle this differently, but sometimes through a spreadsheet or some tracking system, Destiny or something else, allows them to follow up with students and help them understand the importance of having that device in hand and charged and ready for learning every day, to create a culture of responsibility at the school level rather than just at the class level. In addition, analyzing data about lost and stolen devices. So being very proactive and helping students understand that, if devices is lost or stolen, to report it, and so it can be addressed. Also realizing that some students might not be comfortable sharing that they've lost or stolen. So using your MDM software to analyze which devices haven't been used for say a month or more, and following up with those students to see whether they're still in possession of the device. And then also being very proactive when students transfer to another school or out of the district, to make sure to collect that device and recover it. And then finally, the fourth sort of component in inventory management in their eyes are device repairs. So creating some systems to not only get devices repaired and turned back around and into students' hands as quickly as possible. But then taking a look at that data, what are the repairs that are commonly coming up, and making sure that every person in the process is informed about what happens when a repair is processed. Who are the important players in that, and what are their roles. Okay, we'd like to hear from you a little bit. We talked about some ways that you could manage devices, the MDM, inventory. Any of these things could be done on a centralized basis or completely site or school based. So in the chat, I'm just curious, if one is your school and district is completely centralized, everything you do when it comes to IT is centralized at the district level, you'd be a 1. If everything you do instead is at the school level, you'd be a 10. We're just curious. Why don't you weigh in the chat? Where do you feel like you fall on that spectrum?
I've seen a couple of very site-based ones there.
Absolutely. Would someone who is closer to the site-based number 10 be comfortable coming off mute and just telling us a little bit? There's certainly positives and drawbacks to any approach. I'm curious, someone who is closer to site-based, how do you feel that experience is? What are some positives that you see from some of our 8s or 9s? Brianna, would you be comfortable sharing a little bit? You see that you're feeling more like an 8.
It's a great.
Yeah.
one.
So our district does handle quite a bit, but I feel like the day to day we handle here. So I handle everything from, finding lost iPads. We do involve the district in everything. Like recently we were doing the inventory and trying to locate those couple that have just gone missing with kids moving and leaving the district. But most of that starts at the site, and we've been pretty good about being able to keep track of things. So I like the way that it's there, but we do have the support of the district when we need it.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate you sharing that, Brianna. And I appreciate your wording too. It starts at the school level. Of course, absolutely, right? The work starts at the school level. And I appreciate you mentioning, there are things that of course need to rise up to the district as well. But the works emanates, it all starts right around the students to support them. I also see in the chat that, if a thought that if the work is primarily, the IT work's primarily being done at the school level, there can be less lag time and getting devices back into students' hands. That's a great point. Justin, I see that you maybe are leaning, your situation leans a little bit closer to a district or centralized approach. Would you feel comfortable sharing with us the advantages you've seen in your district?
Yeah, we have a little bit of advantage in that our kids are pretty mobile and can move between schools a lot. So they wouldn't have to worry about changing up their apps or anything from one school to another if they transition. So it helps with that. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of lag time whenever we need to put an iPad in lost mode and we have to wait for one person at the admin building to hit the button on the MDM to put it in lost mode. So I see positives and minuses for both.
That's a great point. Yeah, and that is great. I mean, certainly if we had an unlimited buffer supply of devices, right? If we could just have a huge stack that anytime an issue came up, we'd have a fresh device to put in students' hands, and whether something was lost or damaged or whatever, that'd be great. But that's not the reality or financial reality, right? We have a pretty lean inventory of devices always, and so every district's a little bit different, but really in the end, the work we're trying to do is keep devices in the hands of students. So lots of great ways to do that. Okay, well, thanks everyone. I appreciate you you weighing in, and we're not trying to suggest that there's one right or wrong answer. And I would imagine that this changes over time in your district too, right? Depending on your personnel and your situation, maybe even the age of the device, right? Maybe the approach that you take changes as your devices age. Or the age of the student, right? Maybe this looks a little bit different in, even though this wouldn't be a VILS school, an elementary school versus say a high school. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Elliot, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. And again, welcome everyone. Zach, thanks for that great opening session there. Make some great points. And again, there's no right or wrong answer to that. I think it's fantastic that we've got a good array of suggestions, centralized or decentralized or school-based. But now we wanted to shift gears a little bit, cover some resources that are available to you. One main resource that we have that VILS provides, and just to note, this is different from what your district may have as an IT support mechanism. So they may create help desks through your district. So just make sure you are sure which way your district goes as far as how you initially set up tickets or how you initially put in incidences. But we wanted to share the VILS help desk, and this is available to coaches, district IT points of contact. So this is open for anyone that may need assistance on a VILS device. And there's a couple of ways that you can reach out to the VILS help desk. First, simply an email. Putting an email in there converts it automatically to a ticket for VILS. The help desk consistently reviews tickets over and over and over again throughout the day, throughout the week. So that email that you send in there, and thank you, Todd, for putting those resources available in the chat. An email to the help desk creates a ticket automatically, and the help desk is a ticket-based system. So once that ticket goes in there, it's assigned and it's addressed fairly immediately. The second way is through the portal. Now, the portal is a little bit different. You can submit tickets through the portal, but more importantly, through the portal, you can view the ticket history and solutions that exist. So we have a solutions page that's available with articles on anything from ordering accessories, data and internet access, sample school resources, device-specific solutions, and if anyone's had to deal with a locked iPad, the dreaded PUK code that comes up. So this is a place where that through email or through the portal, you can always request this information or check our solutions page. We've also got a link on there that shows you a quick way to create an account and then a quick tutorial video that'll walk you through that initial process of submitting a ticket. So again, this VILS help desk is available to IT points of contact, coaches that may have any issues, especially with PUKs, and of course, even district support as well. And then kind of the next iteration of self-help that we offer outside of the VILS help desk is access to the Verizon Enterprise Center. And this account is specifically requested through the help desk. We have a direct link that's in the help desk you'll see available to request that actual VEC account. And in this is a very powerful tool. And typically IT administrators or district IT leads, as well as IT points of contact, will have access to this. It's important to note that this can be done centralized or it can be done site-based. This is up to the district to make that decision. So not all districts will allow IT points of contact, the school-based IT, to really access this. They may want to keep it district. So there's pros and cons to that, as we've discussed in the past or previously in this slide deck. So the VEC access allows you to see device information that's available. You can suspend or resume service on a device. So for example, if a device is lost or stolen, we want to deactivate that line. So as well as deactivate the device through whatever MDM console you have available. and this limits access to the LTE network and it'll limit access to the device. So that usually is a signifier to the end user that it's time to return my device or something is going on with it. You can activate equipment. So if you have replacement SIM cards that you have the ability to plug those new SIM cards and activate those SIM cards. That's particularly handy when you purchase new devices to replace any lost or stolen. You have the ability to activate those devices, those SIM cards on those devices. You can also transfer lines of service. So if a device has been damaged beyond repair and a replacement has been sent to you, we can transfer. We don't want to ever disconnect lines. We always want to suspend them or transfer them to a new device. So it's very important that we take those numbers that you already have and we just put that on that newer device, that replacement device. So the device remains consistent. The only thing that'll change is an IMEI and a serial number in your MDM. So it's important to transfer that line of service rather than disconnect it and have to apply for a new line. You can also see current usage on devices. So this is particularly important if you're having devices that are exceeding that 30 gigs premium data. Maybe they're going far above and beyond that. You can actually track that information in the VEC account. And maybe I'll use little Stevie Brown as a example. Maybe Stevie Brown is exceeding that data usage significantly and may have to intervene from the coach or the IT point of contact on that. And we've got a link in there to request VEC account access. Again, reach out to your district IT lead. This does also require a VILS help desk account for this request.
That's a good point. Yeah, thanks, Elliot. And I would just throw out, if you find yourself, as Elliot mentioned, consistently, or someone on your team consistently sending in PUK requests or transfer for lines of service, or whatever the case may be, you can really empower yourself. And again, whether that's at the school level or the district level, instead of being reliant on VILS and Verizon, it's a great way to empower the work to be done, at the local level, as having one of these VEC accounts.
Sure, excellent point, Zach. We also wanted to throw out a couple more what we call toolkits that are available. So we have an iPad toolkit and a Chromebook toolkit. So what you find in these are a lot of best practices that are there, support that are there, hardware flows that are there as well. It allows you to prepare for deployment, repairs and replacements. And it also gives you a very powerful 30, 60, 90-day guide. So that's very scenario-based to walk you through any issues your district may see or at the school may see coming up in that first 30, 60, or 90-day period. So let's shift gears a little bit further and talk about my favorite part of the whole program, and that's really the student tech teams. And this is where you can build a foundational group that really is your first line of defense. We even had districts that have gone as far as have student tech teams train actual teachers themselves. So this is a very powerful, and you probably can tell I'm very passionate about it. This is a very powerful tool that each of our schools need to develop in order to be really successful at not only this tier 1 support, so that first line of defense for troubleshooting, is freeing up teachers and IT staff. So this is very important. Because these kids know how to get around these devices. They're digital citizens, and they're really going to be really successful at helping other students, as well as later on beginning to get to that customer service level to where they need to support, or they will be able to support not only students, but teachers as well. And like I said, it really frees up teachers and IT staff to offer this tier 1 support with students. So they can go through basic troubleshooting, they can triage filling out repair tickets. And one of my favorite things is kid testers. So when new apps are available, you can actually select a few students to go in and test out new apps, maybe test your filter, do a little white hat hacking on your filter, and testing out where you may have weaknesses in the filter or may have to allow and whitelist some other sites that teachers assign. So these are really these field testers that are great for testing out anything tech related. So we've seen some really great examples from districts that really emphasize these tech students or the student tech team as this really tier 1 support. So as best practices, we want you to start those tech teams early, begin recruiting, have an application process, and more importantly too, look for those students with that hidden talent. Perhaps there is a student that has found a way around a filter. We've all had that happen. So we want to make sure that those students are brought into the fold, because those are the ones that are constantly testing it out, constantly seeing the limits. But this way we can really see and pay attention to those students that have that knack for really helping out and really developing future student tech teams as well. Now let's take a look at some data. I know in the VEC account we talked about tracking data usage and seeing that. Let's go ahead and look at how we can make these data-formed decisions. So each month, you'll have access to a data dashboard. And again, this is going to be more specific to IT leads than rather school points of contact. District IT leads are going to get access to this data use report. And our goal is that that data usage report is shared with the IT points of contact, because this is a great overview of how data is being used, how much devices are using data. So we ask that you review certain data points monthly. So a data use report, that's definitely a great indicator of how these devices are being used, how much data is being used as a whole, and how many devices as a whole are utilizing the LTE network. So this is also, we want to look at device repair and replacement reports as well. Those data points are available from VILS as well. So this gives you a good indicator on, let's say, cracked screens or water damage or things like that. It gives you a pulse on where your damages are coming from to possibly be preventative in going through there. Perhaps students are leaving them in their backpack or pencils being left in a Chromebook and it's being closed. There's all sorts of little data points that you can look at to hopefully be proactive. We also want to look at day users too. These day users, of course, are going to be essential in managing your buffer supply as well. Lost and stolen devices, and of course, SIM swaps are available. So is that data showing our best outcomes? And what can we do to get that data where we want it to be? So when we look at that, that's very important. And then of course, once we get a monthly cadence to it all, measure again next month and see where we're at. So our data use report, very straightforward. This access is done once a month, and this is great for reviewing trends of data usage. We'll show you very easy to read gauges that are on there between devices that are using no data, devices that are using some data, and devices that are exceeding that 30 gig premium data. And then of course, like we talked about, device repair data. So this is monthly. This is good for internal reporting, repair and replacement report. And as you can see, it breaks down where the damages have occurred. But is data showing our best outcomes? Which schools are seeing the most repairs? What types of repairs are you seeing? And what schools aren't submitting claims? We want to make sure those devices are always available. So we want a good workflow for schools submitting claims. It's okay to submit claims, but we just want to track and see what's happening. And device care and claim submission, again, is the data where we want it to be and how can we get it there? And again, measure next month. So meeting cadences, we'll go through this real quickly so we have enough time at the end to answer any questions. Meeting cadences, if you could advance to the next slide, Zach, thank you. These are very important. So we need to make these non-negotiable. And what that means is that we need all the stakeholders involved. This is great for planning, for problem solving, but most importantly too, celebrating. We want to celebrate our successes, but involving those stakeholders like parents and students, staff, and importantly, leadership. So really all those stakeholders are coming together in solution planning as well. And most importantly, this is what Zach had mentioned, no matter how long your journey is with VILS, we want to make sure that you're building sustainability. So how do you preserve it beyond VILS? Where are you putting your measurables at? Where are your key performance indicators? Where do you want your resources? Do you continue to want to see? And beginning that lifestyle planning and consider replacement devices, but build support over time, or build those systems over time. And then, of course, those systems that you build, bake them in. It's important that we are, that you're doing business that way. So ongoing digital citizenship programs, these are very important. Student tech teams, meeting cadences, device wellness checks, these are all fantastic systems to bake into. Remember, systems are transferable. So that kind of runs us to an upcoming opportunity. So this is the Affordable Connectivity Program. So I'm gonna let you cover this when you review the slide deck. I won't go into too much detail, but the opportunity is coming up to register for the call on Wednesday the 14th, so next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I wanted to throw that out there because this is a great way to help families pay for internet at home for connected devices. And we want to hear your feedback, so rate us in the session in Sketch. I believe we've determined that's the right way to say that. So rate our session in there, and we'd love the feedback. This is how we adjust and how we make our presentations better.
Elliot, if I
Go ahead.
if I could just jump in with a plug here for this upcoming session. Sorry to cut you off there. So you get a well-earned break. And we realize you might be thinking, hey, these guys are just talking at us about this IT stuff. Like, we want to get in and share some ideas and hear from some other experts who are doing the work in the field from other districts. And here's your chance. So we're having EdCamp. I hope you've heard a little bit about this earlier in the day, but if not, just a quick overview. This is kind of an unconference style where you come in and there are lots of topics to choose from. One of those is there's going to be an IT session, and you are going to get to have whatever discussions you want with like-minded folks who are doing IT work in districts, VILS districts across the country. So instead of us talking at you, you will be sharing best practices, resources, whatever it is, and guiding the conversation around the kind of questions and answers you want. So that will be coming up in just about 15 minutes. There are also lots of other great sessions. I mean, there are things other than IT that are awesome as well, is what I'm getting at. And so you're welcome to jump back and forth from different groups in this EdCamp session. Just want to put a plug in there. I know you've already used a lot of your time, but it'll be a great interactive session in about 15 minutes. With that, thanks for being here. It's great to have you. Thanks for chiming in the chat. We'll stick around. Elliot and I will stick around if you have any questions or follow-up or concerns about anything that we've shared today. And you also have our contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, even if we don't work directly with your district. If there's something that we said that has kind of struck a nerve with you, or you want some follow-up information on anything we've shared, we'd be happy to have some conversation with you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out and taking your valuable time to listen to us and shop talk, and we appreciate all the feedback. Thank you so much.